Anyone interested in films enough to watch this video probably knows what it's like to be asked for movie recommendations. On the one hand, you don't want to betray cinematic tradition with an unworthy film, but on the other, you gotta know your audience. That's to say, you probably shouldn't recommend art house pictures to someone whose favorite film is Transformers. So what do? You side with something between accessible and challenging, hoping that the right suggestion broadens the viewer's appreciation of movies and opens the door for more outside the comfort zone films. I've tried to refine this practice over many years, and although I usually have a handful of cinematic suggestions at the ready, there's one film I almost always recommend, and it almost always bombs. That movie is Alfonso Cuaron's masterpiece, Children of Men. Children of Men is no stranger to disregard. When released in 2006, critics praised the film, and it garnered a few prestigious technical award nominations. But instead of shaking up the industry as a groundbreaking film should, it only caused small tremors. It was as if a magnitude 9 earthquake only rippled the water in a drinking cup. I've done my best to spread the word about this film whenever the opportunity arises, because for me, Children of Men has served as a critical source of artistic appreciation during the last decade, revealing itself in the world at random times. Steven Spielberg said that Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey is a film that reveals something more after each viewing. It teaches you something new about the world, and when you view it again after learning that something new, you in return learn more about the film. Children of Men operates the same way. After watching the seemingly impossible one-shots by the film's director of photography, Emmanuel Lubezki, I made it a priority to check out the cinematographer's other films. Exploring Lubezki and his collaborations with some of the greatest living directors, such as Terrence Malick, opened up an entire movie universe to me. Likewise, when I saw the Slovenian philosopher Slavoj Žižek for the first time on Children of Men's extra features,
between the novel and the film,
I began to read his work. Now I can't watch a movie without it becoming a mini pervert's guide to ideology, which, by the way, is another film recommendation that commonly bombs. At the same time, experiences outside the movie theater kept bringing me back to Children of Men. In college, I randomly selected a vinyl record of King Crimson's In the Court of the Crimson King because I thought the art looked interesting, only later to accidentally discover that my favorite song on the album soundtracks a scene in Children of Men. Most recently, I was brought back to the movie after I had a eureka moment while listening to Run the Jewels' third studio album. On the disc's final song, featured artist Zach De La Rocha, the man famous for not doing what they told him, opens his verse with a direct mention of Children of Men.
Children of men on the throne, roll for no atonement. Got me feeling like I'm Clive Owen rolling through a future frozen.
This really was a revelation. Audiences were finally beginning to appreciate the movie. Before I knew it, a gush of love poured in for Children of Men, as critics and cinephiles looked back at the film on its 10th anniversary. Many were chilled by how closely the movie's dystopian take on a refugee crisis so closely resembled the present day. But more than anything, De La Rocha's verse struck me because of the imagery it chose. The film's final shot, where Theo rows a wimpy boat through an ocean's tumult, with only a blinking beacon breaking through the murk and fog, leaves us with so many questions. Is the red flash an alarm or a sign of hope? Was Theo's sacrifice squandered to the profound indifference of the ocean, or was his final act a testament to the strength of hope? This is all to say the imagery in this scene is breathtakingly sublime, and it transcends the level on which most films operate. These images are paintings. This scene, a poem. Of course, all this flowery language is really just a bunch of cliches. An experience with the sublime is so outside our ability to communicate through language, we often fall back on cliches. I can wax poetic about how this is one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen, but words fail to breach the divide between perceived beauty and the message being communicated. This is not a new problem. Philosophers throughout history have debated, rationalized, and tried to comprehend what they called aesthetics, the study and appreciation of beauty and the sublime. What makes something beautiful? Is the concept of beauty universal? Does everyone perceive the same type of experiences when recognizing beauty? Or should we all find the same things beautiful? And my favorite question of all, can the perception of beauty be taught? Or even more fundamental, can it even be learned? I like to answer this question optimistically. Not only can perceiving beauty be learned, it can be taught. However, it's not so easy. For one, as we previously explored, it's close to impossible to accurately describe what you're feeling when you recognize something sublime. Even worse, most of the time what's being perceived is outside your own level of understanding. It's like seeing a new color, but having nothing to understand it with outside the normal color spectrum. That's pretty lofty stuff, but let's take an example from Children of Men to futilely explain something I've already said is outside my ability to understand, much less communicate. There's something so ridiculously profound happening here in this scene, and if I were to try to communicate it, I would sound like a babbling idiot. This divide between profound experience and communicability brings me back to a Bob Dylan lyric from The Ballad of a Thin Man.
Because something is happening here, but you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones?
There's definitely something happening here, and I definitely have no idea what it is. Perhaps a crude example, but it's similar to Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart, who in 1964, when trying to discern whether certain imagery is pornography, claimed that he couldn't describe what made something pornography. He just knew it when he saw it. Maybe we can't explain beauty. We just know it when we see it. And the more we expose ourselves and others to examples of it, the easier it is for everyone involved to understand. At least, that's my rationale when I recommend Children of Men to people even when their favorite movie is the latest Marvel film. If you're looking for some other recommendations, I got two for you. The first is Tarsem Singh's The Fall. It's a really visual picture. It was shot over dozens of different countries and it looks really, really cool. The second is quite a bit different. That's a 50s film called All About Eve. It's not so much visual, it's very theatrical, so it's very dialogue driven, but man, it is really, really, really good. I highly recommend it. And if you don't like either of those, sorry.